Deep beneath the leaf litter of a Madagascar forest, an ant bites its own larva. Not to kill it. To drink from it. This is the Dracula ant. And what it does next will shatter every assumption you hold about what an animal is capable of. The Dracula ant belongs to the genus Mystrium, and like the creature it is named after, it lives in darkness, moves in silence, and sustains itself on the blood of the living. But the more you look at this animal, the more you realize that the vampire comparison barely scratches the surface. The Dracula ant is something far stranger. Far older. And far more dangerous than any legend. Let us begin at the beginning. Ants have existed for roughly 140 million years. They have outlasted the dinosaurs, survived mass extinctions, and colonized every continent except Antarctica. In that time, they have evolved into more than 20,000 known species, each one a product of relentless adaptation. Most ants follow a familiar blueprint. Workers forage. The queen reproduces. Larvae develop in chambers, fed and tended until they mature. It is a system so effective that it has barely changed in tens of millions of years. The Dracula ant threw out the blueprint. Colonies of Mystrium live underground, typically inside rotting wood or beneath the soil of tropical forests across Madagascar, Southeast Asia, and Australia. They are small, pale, almost ghostly in appearance. Their eyes are reduced to near nothing. In a world of perpetual darkness, vision is a luxury they cannot afford. Instead, they navigate through touch and chemical signals, communicating with one another through a language invisible to us. The colony functions as a single organism. Every individual has a role. Workers hunt. Soldiers defend. The queen produces offspring. But the colony faces a fundamental problem that most ant species do not. Adult Dracula ants cannot digest solid food. Their throats are too narrow. Their digestive systems, shaped by millions of years of specialization, simply cannot process the prey they catch. So when workers bring down a centipede or a silverfish, they cannot eat what they kill. The larvae can. Larval Dracula ants have broader, more generalized digestive systems. They can consume and break down solid prey in a way adults cannot. And this creates a remarkable arrangement. Workers feed prey to the larvae. The larvae digest it. And then the workers feed on the larvae. Not by killing them. Not even by harming them in any lasting way. Workers bite into the larval body wall and drink the fluid that seeps out, a nutrient-rich hemolymph that the larva produces as it processes food. The larva survives. The adult is nourished. The colony continues. Scientists call this non-destructive cannibalism. It is one of the most unusual feeding relationships in the entire animal kingdom. The larvae are not prey. They are living nutrient processors, a biological supply chain in miniature. They grow, they feed, they give, and they survive to eventually become workers themselves, destined one day to drink from the next generation. This behavior is so strange, so counterintuitive, that researchers initially struggled to classify it. It does not fit neatly into any existing framework of predator and prey, of host and parasite. It is something else entirely. A mutualism with teeth. But this is not the most extraordinary thing about the Dracula ant. In 2018, a team of researchers at the University of Illinois published a paper that would force a rewrite of biology textbooks. They had been studying Mystrium camilli, a species of Dracula ant found in Southeast Asia, and they had noticed something unusual about the way workers moved their mandibles. Their jaws did not simply open and close. They pressed them together under enormous muscular tension, like a spring being compressed, and then released them in an instant. What happened next was almost too fast to measure. The mandibles snapped shut at speeds exceeding 90 meters per second. The strike lasted approximately 23 microseconds. 23 millionths of a second. The force generated was enough to fling both the ant and its target through the air. It was a movement so violent, so explosive, that the ant essentially weaponized its own body as a projectile launcher. This is the fastest known animal movement ever recorded. Not the fastest among insects. Not the fastest among ants. The fastest animal movement in the natural world, full stop. Faster than the strike of a trap-jaw ant, which was previously considered the benchmark. Faster than the snap of a mantis shrimp claw. Faster than the tongue of a chameleon. Faster than anything any animal has ever been measured doing. To put it in terms the human mind can grasp, if you blinked your eye at the same speed as a Dracula ant's mandible strike, your eyelid would be moving at nearly 4,000 kilometers per hour. The blink that takes you a tenth of a second would, at Dracula ant speed, be over before the sound of it could travel an inch. The mechanism behind this speed is a process called power amplification. The ant slowly loads its muscles against its exoskeleton, building stored elastic energy like a drawn bow. When the mandibles slide across each other and release, all of that energy discharges instantaneously. The muscle itself could never contract fast enough to produce this movement. The structure of the body is doing the work. The ant has evolved itself into a biological snap trap. The strike is used primarily for hunting. A centipede touched by those mandibles has no time to react. No nervous system on Earth processes information quickly enough to respond to a strike that ends in 23 microseconds. By the time the signal of danger reaches the target's brain, the blow has already landed. It is also used for defense. When threatened, Dracula ant soldiers have been observed using their mandibles to catapult themselves and intruders away from the colony entrance. The ant becomes a weapon aimed at itself, using recoil as a defense mechanism. Somewhere in the forests of Southeast Asia, right now, a colony of Dracula ants is moving through the dark. Workers are feeding larvae. Larvae are being fed upon. A soldier is waiting at the entrance to the nest, jaws loaded, spring compressed, ready to fire. And here is the thought that makes everything else fall into place. The Dracula ant is considered a primitive species. Its anatomy, its behavior, its social structure, all of it places Mystrium near the base of the ant family tree. This animal is one of the oldest forms of ants still walking the earth. It has changed very little since the age of dinosaurs. The fastest strike in the animal kingdom does not belong to evolution's latest invention. It belongs to one of its oldest survivors. That speed, that strangeness, that blood-drinking darkness, it was here long before us. And it will be here long after. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit like and subscribe for more incredible facts.